I cheated on my wife thinking it meant nothing, but I ended up with HPV that turned into cancer. Now I'm going through chemo alone while she won't even look at me, and I know I deserve every second of this pain. It started at my buddy Marcus's bachelor party in Vegas. Not the cheating part, that came later. But that weekend planted something toxic in my brain. All the guys were talking about their hall passes and joking about what happens in Vegas. I came home to Sarah making dinner, humming while she stirred pasta sauce, and instead of feeling grateful, I felt trapped. Like I was missing out on something. Sarah and I met in college. She's a pediatric nurse, volunteers at the animal shelter, makes me coffee every morning before her 6 a.m. shifts. We've been trying for kids for 2 years. She'd leave pregnancy test instructions on my nightstand and I'd find her crying in the bathroom when they came back negative. But instead of supporting her, I started staying late at work. Started scrolling through Instagram looking at women half her age. Started telling myself I deserved better. The woman was a new marketing coordinator at my firm. 24, fresh out of grad school, always asking me for mentorship over drinks. I told myself it was networking. I told myself Sarah would understand. I told myself a lot of lies. Her name was Jessica and she laughed at everything I said, even my terrible jokes. She'd text me at night, innocent stuff at first, then pictures. I deleted them immediately but the rush stayed. Sarah would be asleep next to me after her 12-hour shifts, exhausted from dealing with sick kids all day, and I'd be texting another woman. I started looking forward to Jessica's messages more than coming home. When Sarah would try to talk about baby names or nursery colors, I'd zone out and think about Jessica's laugh. When Sarah would reach for me in bed, tired but trying to connect, I'd pretend to be asleep because I was thinking about someone else. The affair didn't happen overnight. It was weeks of build-up. Coffee meetings that turned into drinks. Work conversations that turned personal. Jessica would touch my arm when she laughed, let her hand linger on my shoulder. She started wearing perfume that reminded me of high school girlfriends, back when everything felt possible. Sarah noticed me pulling away but blamed herself. "Are you okay, baby? You seem distant." She'd make my favorite meals, suggest date nights, try to seduce me in ways that used to work. But I'd built up this fantasy that she was boring, that we'd gotten too comfortable, that I was wasting my prime years. The night it happened, Sarah was working a double shift at the children's hospital. Some kind of emergency with a critical patient. She texted me at 7 p.m. saying she'd be home late, maybe not until morning, and instead of feeling worried or supportive, I felt excited. Free. Jessica had been hinting for weeks about wanting to show me her new apartment. "You should come over for dinner," she'd say. "I make amazing pasta." We both knew what she was really offering, and I pretended I didn't understand while planning exactly when I'd take her up on it. I texted her 20 minutes after Sarah's message. "Free tonight if you want to grab that drink we talked about." She responded immediately with her address and a winky face emoji. I deleted the text thread, showered, put on cologne I hadn't worn in years. Driving to her place, I kept the radio loud to drown out the voice in my head screaming that this was insane. I parked 3 blocks away like a coward, turned off my location sharing, and walked to her building with my wedding ring turned around so only the band showed. Jessica answered the door in a dress I'd never seen at work. Red wine was already open. Candles everywhere. She'd planned this as carefully as I had, and seeing that preparation should have been a red flag, but instead it made me feel wanted in a way I'd forgotten existed. We didn't even pretend to eat dinner. Within an hour we were in her bedroom, and I was crossing a line I'd sworn I never would. Afterward, lying in sheets that smelled like someone else's detergent, I felt nothing. Not guilt, not satisfaction, not relief. Just empty. Like I'd bitten into fruit expecting sweetness and got cardboard. I drove home at 2 a.m. to find Sarah had gotten off early and made me a sandwich, thinking I was working late. She was sitting at our kitchen table in scrubs, exhausted but smiling, asking about my day. I ate her food while she rubbed my shoulders and told me about the little boy she'd helped save, and I felt like the worst person alive. I told myself it was a one-time mistake. But Jessica started getting clingy immediately. Texting during work hours about how amazing the night was, talking about how we had real chemistry, hinting that maybe we could figure something out long-term. I realized I'd misread the situation completely. She thought this was the beginning of something, not the end. 2 months of dodging her calls and avoiding her at work. Sarah kept asking what was wrong, why I seemed distracted. I blamed stress, blamed work pressure, blamed everything except the truth eating me alive. Jessica got weird after I cut contact, showing up to meetings she wasn't invited to, sending passive-aggressive emails about team collaboration, making comments about my marriage in front of colleagues. Then Sarah noticed the bump in my throat during one of our increasingly rare intimate moments. We were trying to reconnect, to get back to who we used to be, when she ran her finger along my neck and froze. "Baby, what's this? You should get this checked." I brushed it off. Stress from work. Too much coffee. Male pattern baldness extending to weird places. But it got bigger. Started hurting. I made the appointment to shut Sarah up, expecting the doctor to tell me it was nothing. Instead, he ordered a biopsy. Then another test. Then he called us both in for results with that tone doctors use when they're about to wreck your world. It's HPV-related oropharyngeal cancer. Usually sexually transmitted. Stage 2, but treatable. When was your last exposure outside your marriage, Mr. Chen? Sarah was sitting right there holding my hand, wearing the bracelet I'd bought her for our anniversary. I watched her face crumble as the timeline clicked into place. The doctor kept talking about treatment options and survival rates, but all I could see was my wife realizing I'd betrayed her in the worst possible way. She didn't scream. She didn't throw things. She just stood up, walked out of that office, and I knew there was no coming back from this moment. No explanation would matter. No apology would fix it. I'd traded 8 years of marriage and the woman who loved me most for 3 hours with someone who'd already blocked my number, and now we both might pay with our lives.